Hello, this is Dr. Richard Ruling here again to share with you on the Total Health channel. Hope you like these from week to week. If so, please indicate it and share with your friends. The intent really is to have information that will have 144,000 who will be ready for events this coming spring. And the events are coming, I believe, as unfortunately most time charts do not show. Can't know exactly until maybe we get to the time. But as Ellen White says, present truth is something that is available in every generation. Daniel 12 has Ellen White's lost vision, and Daniel Gates' trouble this spring as he is supporting an event. I think most SDA time charts are wrong about Daniel 12:7. They assume that the times, and half a time of 1,260 days are an imprecise wording of the 1290 and 1335 that they see in verses 11 and 12. They fail to see the 1260 days of Revelation 11 as the same 1260 of Daniel, the times, and half a time in verse 12:7. Note that most SDAs do not understand Daniel's wording with this explanation. The man in linen is really Christ because the high priest wore linen on the days of atonement. And he swears. The Hebrew word is shaba. It means he sevens himself as in an oath or covenant. I believe this is Christ making a pre-nuptial covenant with his bride as explained in the wedding parables or as supported by them so that he does not get an ignorant bride as God did at Sinai when they worshiped the calf 40 days later. Paul said those things at Sinai, he said, I would not have you ignorant how those things Israel passed through the sea. All those things happened for examples, written for us at the end of the world. That was 1 Corinthians 10, verse 1 and 11. And the wedding imagery is timely from 1844 when pioneers gave a wedding message. The bridegroom comes along with the message of the first angel of judgment. But the events didn't fit 1844 as they expected. They had the bitter belly experience, as we recall, but Christ said, you must prophesy again. And again means giving the same messages that they gave, but with a better timing perhaps, so that they will fit in our time. The next verses after Revelation 10, verse 11, where he says, you must prophesy again, are an unfolding of those 1844 messages, time of judgment, when it says, measure the temple, them that worship therein, not an investigative judgment, okay? It's about when judgments will be falling. The time of the dead is that they should be judged is supported by 1844 and Revelation 11:18. But Revelation 11:1-6 is judgment of the living, when God is going to give power to two witnesses, Old and New Testament, lived in the lives of his people. On his side, people like Elijah, okay, who turned water to blood. Elijah shut the heavens, and Moses turned water to blood. Those are trumpet plagues of Revelation 8, verse 7 and 8. And I believe we will have that power to bring those plagues if we are ready for events this spring. So Elijah is also supposed to restore all things, though, and we might wonder what are the things he's going to restore. Well, he comes in the context of Malachi 4 and 5 with the statutes, and they have a sevenfold emphasis in Ezekiel 20, verses 11-24, where they are linked to Sabbaths as a sign of God's people. This sevenfold emphasis reminds us again of the swearing of Christ in Daniel 12:7. When he swears, it's making a covenant, okay? And they're linked to the idea of a prenuptial agreement when we seek to marry the bridegroom. Daniel 12, verse 7 says, though he's going to scatter the power of the holy people. And this is an echo of the last night of Christ on earth when he said, smite the shepherd, the sheep will be scattered. End time events can come suddenly, as for Christ last night. And David Gates cited Ellen White's lost vision that a storm of persecution would come suddenly and not an Adventist was to be seen. This is, I believe, an impending event of time of judgment when disciples forsook Christ and fled. The quote is that all who had sought positions were never seen again, and after the storm there was a calm. Then the Adventists arose like a flock of sheep, but there were no shepherds. And the Lord helped them to choose leaders from among them who had never sought positions before. We might wonder, why is this wording there, or how did we get there? There's a link. There will be a link at my website at the bottom of this YouTube video. How shall we understand this? When leaders voted themselves power in a hierarchical church structure, like the Catholic Church has in 1903, in spite of warning by Ellen White, that's in the General Conference Bulletins for 1903, her response was, and you can read it in Volume 8 of the Testimony, page 250, "How has the faithful city become a harlot? My Father's house is made a house of merchandise, a place whence the divine presence and glory have departed." That's serious business. We'd like to think that, God is going to correct things at the head of the work. We hear leaders say that from time to time. But our church has the same 5 levels of hierarchy or level that the Catholic Church has. They have priests, bishops, archbishops, cardinals, and pope. We have pastors, conference, union, division, and general conference. And when Ellen White saw our time, she said the ancient men, those to whom God had given great light, had betrayed their trust. And they failed to give the warning, and in failing to give a warning when the trouble was impending, they were giving a peace and safety message, and that God would judge them. She said in Volume 5, page 211, they were the first to die. Okay, that's comments on Ezekiel 9. She said that Daniel 12 had a warning that we will need, and the warning is in the verse 7 that we've been considering about the scattering of the holy people, and that it will be like the sheep in Christ's time when he said, "Smite the shepherd, the sheep will be scattered." That was on his last night in Matthew 26, verse 31. And when our end time comes, it would be similar, but the reasons for this is beyond the scope of this video shortly. David Gates should be considered right about trouble impending, so that we would seek a readiness for events that may be coming this coming spring, before a Sunday law, really. When Cestius came to Jerusalem, he planted the banner of the Sunday law, but it didn't stick. When the Jews came ushering out of the city, they knocked that banner down, I'm sure. Some Adventists have appreciated a new book that I'd like to share with you. Before a Sunday law comes, I got this book of, here's what someone said, "I got this book of yours, and I couldn't stop it. It is excellent content. The information needs to be seen by everyone who is at least willing to look at the truth." This was by a copy editor for an SDA magazine. I haven't reached her to get permission to use her name, so I won't. But the book is Turkey Soup for the Soul, Chicken Soup for the Soul series, but Turkey Soup for people who are chicken about end times. And readers can get a free copy at Amazon on Sabbath if they would go there and just search for my name, Richard Ruhling, Ruhling, and it's free. You can see my books there, but you can get a free app if you don't have a Kindle. You can get a free app that will put the book into your computer or phone, and it's easy to do. Satisfaction is guaranteed. I thank you for considering this message. Try to do it every week. Please like it and share it with your friends. This is Richard Ruhling on the Total Health Channel. Thank you so much. God bless.